Joining me today is one of the most intense and high energy guys on our team. He's a loyal agent and team member with over a decade of experience. Born and raised in Northeast Philly and now rooted in Bucks County, Jonathan stays deeply connected to his community, especially through local youth sports with his son, Alex. He's a Philly sports nut who brings that same intensity to helping buyers and sellers map out a clear game plan and execute from start to finish. Let's welcome our guy, Jonathan Marshall. Welcome to Know Your People. This is our series where you meet the people that are important to our team's success. Today, we're sitting down with Jonathan Marshall to hear his story, how he got started in real estate, and some of the best tips he has for buyers and sellers. Let's jump right in. John, thanks for joining us. And
thanks very much for having me, Bob. I'm contractually obligated to be. No, I'm kidding. It's all good.
Mandatory assignment.
All good.
Mandatory assignment. Let's start at the beginning, man. Tell everyone how you got started in real estate, a little bit how we met, and your background coming up. Sort of how you worked multiple jobs, especially through the first few years of your career.
Sure. So I was in-home sales. I worked for the largest alarm company in the country, and I was one of the top sales reps for them. So I was in people's homes, and I was also managing a lot of larger alarm projects for a lot of realtors in the city of Philadelphia. I was planning on starting a family with my wife. My wife was pregnant, and at the same time that my wife was pregnant, my company announced that they were changing our compensation plan. So of course, as soon as I was worried about every dollar coming into my house, the company decided, hey, we're gonna cut your pay. So I was working with some agents in the city, and they said, why are you managing these camera installs? Why are you managing this fire alarm install? Why don't you sell some houses? Yeah. So it was an idea that I was thinking about for a while, and then I went and got licensed, did the schooling and everything, and I was in a networking group for my sales, and there was an agent that you knew that you were working with in an office, and I tried to get a meeting with her, and I believe she kicked the can to you, and and the rest is history. I worked. So after I got licensed with you, I kind of hit the ground running with a couple contacts that I was with before. And it was beneficial for me working two jobs for a while, because this job can be really difficult to start in. And Absolutely. If you don't have momentum or, kind of a lump sum of savings where that the lights are on and the roof is over your head, it can be really, really difficult. So I was lucky enough to have a full-time sales job, and that you opened the door and were comfortable with me working another job until I got my feet underneath me. And kind of the rest is history there, but I was able to kind of hit it running and keep the momentum rolling from there. It's been great, but it certainly started with a lot of hours in both directions.
Yeah, for sure. You hit a lot of points there. We'll give a shout out to our former manager from many, many years ago, Deb Phillips. Thanks for the intro, Deb. And I think it's worked out great for both of us. Yeah. And I started, a lot like you. I had another job when I started. So you touch on it a little bit. Can you talk a little bit more about the good and bad of starting in real estate, having another job, and specifically having another sales job? So you brought all of those skills over, all of those. I'm comfortable talking to people. Here's the path, lead them down to get to there, the service aspect, all of those things that get measured into it. Can you talk a little bit about how that helped you, and then also how it was a challenge when you went from being sort of full-time security, full-time Windows sales guy to full-time real estate?
Yeah, sure. So my background was obviously in sales, and I've been in sales since I was 20 or 21 at ADT. So my comfortability talking about money, comfortability sitting down with strangers, knocking on someone's door that you don't know, and going in a matter of building a relationship in a matter of 15, 20, 30 minutes, an hour, and then saying, hey, great, it's going to be $30,000 to replace your doors and windows, or it's going to be $5,000 to do a camera system that you want. So I came in comfortable with that. The biggest thing for me was having those relationships established. So I kind of came in with some trust initially. So I was able to transfer some of my clients from that other business into, hey, guess what? I'm doing real estate now. So if anything pops up, I'm here. And they already know that, hey, this guy answered his phone. This guy responded to text messages. He was here when he said he was going to be here. and he did what he said he was going to do. So that was kind of beneficial. The challenges were really just time management. So when you're in-home sales, you have a lot of windshield time. And if you're busy, you're going to have a lot of windshield time. So being able to make the calls between appointments, follow up between appointments, and make sure that, all of your clients are well serviced and well taken care of was very important. The other thing that was very important to me, I didn't let any of my real estate clients know that I was working another gig. And my service to them was not affected by me working another gig. There was never a situation where, and this was a big time benefit of being on the team. If someone needed to see a home at Tuesday at 2:00 in the afternoon and I wasn't able to show it, well, hey, you know what? I work on a team. One of our other agents are going to be able to get out there, or I would connect them with you. And no one ever slipped through the cracks. I've been doing this nearly 10 years now, and I don't think there's one contact or client that can ever say that they felt like they were dropped or let go because you were too busy or I was too busy. And I think that's a big time benefit of where we are. And kind of an overall point, I don't know how you can start in this business without another income stream. It's a personal opinion to me. Whether you're working another gig, part-time, full-time, or your spouse or partner has income coming in. I really, people think this is fast money and easy money. And sure, there are transactions that are simple that, oh my God, wow, I'm I can't believe that I make this for this, but those are few and far between. The vast majority of them, there's complications, there's bumps. You can go from making, a lot of money in a month to making $0. And it's not, oh, well, it just gets delayed. No, like they can flat go away. You can have a month. Great. You're going to make 10, 15, 20, $25,000 more in a month and have zero, turn up tomorrow through no fault of your own. And if you're relying on all of that income in order to, put food on the table and a roof over your head without any type of parachute or backdrop, it can be very, very difficult. Yeah.
You touched on a lot of really good points, especially the carryover from working in a more corporate sales job to this, where it's, there are corporate sales skills that you need, but you also need to manage a lot more sort of emotionally as people are moving their families and, spending tons of money and all that stuff. Like I know this story, but can you remember your very first deals right when Alex was born? So that's sort of how I always know how long you've been on our
Cumberland. Team. It was Cumberland.
Cumberland.
So my
you
first
remember that kind of what stood out kind of as you were doing that, becoming a dad, starting a family, like kind of all this stuff was happening at once.
So I met through my gig with ADT Security. I had a client I met in South Philadelphia. She was a California transplant. She was wonderful. And her and her husband were flipping houses, and they were doing investment properties. And they were connected with an agent that they weren't happy with. And I happened to, after I got them all set up with the alarm stuff for her project to protect it, because they got broken into and they had construction tools stolen, and it was a mess for them. I got them set up real quick and said, hey, I also just got licensed. And if you can, are interested in the second opinion on your next project, let me know. And it worked out. She got me connected. And with their next one, we walked it through. We priced them correctly. I sat down with you because I was a nervous wreck for my first actual listing appointment. We sat down in the gorgeous home that they all custom redid in East Passyunk. And we ended up listing their place in the middle of Fishtown. It was a gorgeous remodel. And it was all the week that my wife gave birth to my son. And I became a dad on she went into labor on Friday, became a dad on Saturday. And I believe we had an open house for my first listing the same day. And teammate Anthony Phillips ran that open house. And I was getting my first texts and phone calls about how it was going while in the hospital, being a dad for the first time. So that was interesting weekend for sure. But we sold it above list. So we sold it above list, waived inspections, got everything right. So the job's easy. It's easy. It's easy. Just put a sign out front.
Yeah, that's it. That's all we do. That's it. We
Over
are
the word, fine. That's it.
Yeah. It's awesome. It's one of my favorite stories because I started similarly with sort of a layup. Not that deal was a layup. You had a relationship, but I had sort of like this total layup my first night in real estate before I had access to contract software, and it wasn't even Bright at the time. It was Trend MLS. I hadn't even done the training yet. An older agent in the office gave me some paperwork. He's like, just don't tell them you're new and set an appointment for next week. And I did that, and I turned around 7 weeks later and made some money. I'm like, I thought I found like the money, the money barrel. It was like, this is the easiest job in the world. Why aren't people doing this?
When it's good, it's the best thing ever. And when it's bad, it is terrifying. But like, listen, it was, to me, for that, I would work. I probably, obviously a lot of phone calls, a lot of back and forth. And that at the time it was still Trend when I started. I'm old too. It was still Trend.
Yeah. That's right.
Right. Like it's one of those things when you do a good job and you earn trust, and that deal turned into 2 other deals. They ended up buying more properties. They ended up moving back to California. So that one contact that I was able to earn trust with in another job turned into, I believe, 3 or 4 transactions in the matter of like 18 months. And it is, kind of the power of customer service, the power of communication, and just kind of being open and upfront and doing a good job for people.
Yeah. I think that's a perfect segue because I always like to ask like how your business evolved from like the beginning stages to that. Like talk a little bit about, service is part of it, process is part of it, your confidence and familiarity with all the steps in the transactions part of it, a little bit how it's evolved over the years.
Sure. So my business, primarily was through word of mouth, and it's kind of the way it has to be, right? So just taking them as that one example, if you do a good job for a client, especially like someone that's investing or has the ability or the want to do multiple things, if you do a good job for them, it's going to more than likely turn into another one. And if it's not with them, it's with their friend, it's with a relative, it's with a guy you bumped into at your kid's school. It's something. So the word of mouth was kind of the biggest thing, and it still is even a decade later. But for me, my business really evolved, when I really made that jump into being full time. So there is a point where if you are doing enough business, that all the positives of being at another gig, eventually, you get so busy to the point where you do risk having the service drop off. And for me, that happened in mid-COVID. So I decided to take the jump from another sales job that I went into. I was doing selling windows and doors for a large company in the area, and during COVID, I was managing really, really large projects while managing really, really large construction projects and numerous transactions. And I didn't feel comfortable, not being able to dedicate myself full time to real estate. So I took the jump. And for me, when I took that jump, it really kind of took off because I was able to dedicate more time to marketing, more time for team stuff, and really kind of, hone the craft and understand that whether it's in PA or New Jersey now, you could be talking about any type of transaction, any type of house, any type of really structure, land, whatever it is. And I can comfortably walk someone through the process.
Yeah. When I think back on that too, like it was really important for you because you at one point you came pretty close, and then we had just like real estate disasters happen, like a bunch of deals fall apart for the craziest shit in the world. And then, but when you made the jump, the thing that was, I think, from my standpoint, as like your friend and as like the team leader and all that, I'm a balance is bullshit guy, but you had zero, like not even 1% of balance. So at least it gave you some time back with your family, especially as Alex was getting into things, you and Liz like to travel. So you got a piece of that back. You were able to kind of appreciate that more, and then kind of, focus and hone in on one thing. And it was like, it didn't take long. Like once you did it, it was like, great. You also had the benefit where like you kind of killed it at both jobs for a couple of years in a row. So it was like, to your point earlier, whether it's a spouse, partner, whatever, everyone getting into the business, you got to treat it like a business, and you have to have some capital there to succeed. You're going to have higher months and lower months, and you're going to have some expenses along the way. On a team, some of that stuff is reduced for you, but you do need to have some capital to fire with when you're doing it.
When that story you referenced, there was a point that I was working both jobs, and I had 3 transactions scheduled to close. It was in a February, so whatever anniversary it is, maybe it's 6-7 years, whatever it is. Happy anniversary to me jumping off a cliff. I had 3 transactions that were scheduled to close in a week's time frame, and it was a lot of money, a lot of money, and every one of them fell apart, and through really no fault of my own or really even my clients. There was a circumstance, I believe, the one I remember very specifically, but I think there was a bankruptcy thing where people, now they couldn't sell the house, was one. There was a situation where at the 24 hours before settlement, it was determined that a client that was in this country on a permanent work visa had it pulled by their employer through no notification. They didn't even know that this was happening. And I was at a settlement table for another deal, and literally the mortgage lender looks up from the table and goes, we can't close that one. And it was a lot of money. And it was a circumstance that just, it shook me for sure. And I was what, maybe 2 years in, maybe at that point, to wherever I was. And it was a lot of money, and it rattled me. That was probably the low point of my career, because it was in my other sales gig. It's kind of seasonality in real estate at that time. This was pre-COVID, was really kind of seasonal too, right? Sure. That's gone away a good bit. But you're kind of expecting, hey, you know what? It's cold, it's snowy, it's crappy. Probably not buying a house the week of Christmas. Probably not buying one in the middle of January. We're going to wait until the school year's over to get my kids moved. So it was a circumstance where, like, I got worried. But luckily, with enough conversations and enough whining on my end, and being able to be shepherded through, that there is a light at the end of the real estate tunnel, that I was able to kind of stick with it, and it got me, to where I am today, which is not a spot that I ever really thought that I would be in, or that my family would be in, and luckily I stuck with it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and there's a lot there, but that's the one thing that's, when you're watching all the shows on Netflix or whatever about real estate, they don't really talk about a lot about the emotional standpoint. We don't need hugs. We're real estate agents. We don't need hugs. This is the life we chose. But for the clients in particular, that one with the student visa, I mean, that's a curveball.
The guy found out he was no longer allowed to buy property in this country. He also had his work visa removed and was still actively working, to the point where he could be removed from the country. So good conversation to have. And that's not, there's no real training or schooling for that, other than maybe like a psychiatry degree. Selling Sunset's not going to have one of these agents randomly go 24 hours before settlement that their client has to leave the country.
Right.
not on the top of the list. Done. Not there. But
that's the stuff. Listen, that's the stuff over the years. I know that you know this, and we talk about all the time. It's like those battle scars that once you get through them, you kind of have these stories now that you can kind of, one, have some credibility with new clients, but two, you've just been through so much stuff that you're able to kind of handle.
If you want to bring it in, we joke about it all the time, but the reality is there's nothing that can surprise me anymore. Right? Nothing. Right. Like, it's one of those things where it's just, you wake up, you open your email, you check your text messages. There's almost anything that can be in there, and at this point, it's just, well, okay, we're going to find a solution and we're moving on. And early in your career, especially with me, because I'm a pretty emotional guy, I could certainly let it affect me, and I did everything I can to shield it from my clients, but like it would affect me, mentally, affect me at home, whatever it is. So being able to kind of absorb those hits, and I think that's one of the key responsibilities of an agent, is to be able to take those punches, take those hits, absorb them, process them, and be able to relay this information to your client while shepherding the transaction to accomplish their goals, keep the transaction together if that's what your client wants, and protect their financial interest, protect their real estate interest, and kind of get everyone to the finish line. They don't have to love everybody at the end,
Right.
but you get there and you accomplish, whatever the goals that your client set forth for you.
Perfectly said. Perfectly said. So when you think about you do a lot of business, you've been a great producer for almost since you started, right? It's like quickly had success. Do you have like a favorite type of client that you like? That doesn't have to be the guy who spends $20 million.
They're my favorite. Yeah. Unlimited budget, cash buyer.
Unlimited budget's always favorite. But do you have a favorite that you get like personal enjoyment out of, like getting them to the finish line?
So a couple things. I'm from Northeast Philadelphia. And I moved to Bucks County. That's where we bought our first home in Bensalem. And then we've been in Langhorne for 6 years now.
Standard march up the boulevard.
March up the boulevard, up 95, a couple exits. And I would tell you, like, my favorite client is kind of the people that are in the same situation that my wife and I and our family kind of did, which is, hey, you grew up in Philly, and you know what? We want to either stay in Northeast Philly, but a bigger place, or we want to get into the burbs. What school districts are most attractive? Hey, I want to get my kid into this. I want to be able to commute here. Whatever it is, be able to kind of do that move up and stretch your legs from the neighborhood that you grew up to get you into these, into the neighborhoods, into the homes where people want to be. Again, that's probably my favorite client. And then above that, I love working with people to be able to get them homes that they never thought that they would be able to get.
Yeah.
We're working with friends right now, literally right now, that never were able to get a home. It's actually in my development here in Langhorne that we're able to get them a home that has some features that they never thought that they would be able to find in a home, whether it's from an affordability perspective or just a simple feature perspective. And being able to hear these conversations of like, wow, we never thought we'd be able to do this. Or wow, we can do this. Really, it's one of those things at the end of the day, you feel really good about. And those are probably kind of my favorite things, and favorite people to work with.
Yeah. That's great. That's great. And I know the guys a little bit that are moving into your place, and they're super appreciative. You did a great job with them. Yes. Let's talk a little bit about buyers. Like if you were giving advice to anyone who's thinking about getting the process started today and they're a buyer, what's 3 things you tell them? Hey, from the jump, we got to do these couple things to kind of make sure you're going to have the best experience buying a house.
Sure. Number 1 is you have to have a clear list of what your musts are, right? The last thing that you want to do, and the last thing that I want to do as an agent, is make a phone call. Bob, hey, great news, we got the house. And your first reaction is crap. Because like maybe it's not everything that you wanted, or you felt that you may be compromised. So having a clear list of what your what your musts and what your what you're digging your heels in on, right? Like listen, I have one kid. A 3-bedroom would work for us. I wasn't buying a 3-bedroom. We needed a 4-bedroom plus an office, whatever it is. Hey, I need a basement. I need a garage. I need it to be in this school district. I need it to be whatever it is. You figure out what your musts are and stick to them, because you do not want to make a big financial decision and turn around in 6 months, 1 year, 2 years time, even with equity growth. Luckily in our area, you may be fine, but you don't want to look back and go, oh man, I really wish I bought the bigger one. Or you know what? We're going to have another kid. I wish I had that extra bedroom. Think about what is most important to you and stick with that.
Yeah. That's number 1. Yeah. It's not a t-shirt. You can't return it.
No, right? 100%. The return policy on homes is not as good as you would think. Number 2, you have to be ready to be aggressive when the right thing pops up. And aggressiveness in regards to real estate can mean a lot of things. But what I mean by that is if the right home pops up, you need to be ready to go see it, right? It doesn't need to necessarily both of you. If you and your partner, she's working, you're home, let's go see it. Or, hey, you know what? Listen, I'm in the area. I'll FaceTime you through. I'm helping a client right now that lives in Spain, and I videoed her through homes. She's buying a home in Mercer County, New Jersey right now. She hasn't set foot in this country in 10 years, and I'm helping her purchase. You live in Northeast Philly. I can help you show a house in Bensalem, New Hope, Doylestown, like whatever. Be ready to go. And with that, being ready to go and being aggressive not only matters in seeing it, matters in putting the offer together, it also matters in being ready to be pre-approved and know that you're qualified to buy the home. A big part of our job, and I always say this to my clients, big part of our job, obviously we have fiduciary responsibility. We have to protect our client's wallet. Yeah. A big part of our job is also protecting our clients' emotional stability and emotional well-being. So if I have a client call me right now and, John, this house just popped up, let's go see it. And I take them there, and I've been telling them to get pre-approved for a while, and they love it, but they're not in a position right now to make the purchase. We need to get them set up with someone. They need to put their finances in order. Maybe they need to pull a HELOC or, get a gift from mom or pull from this or pull from that. Or do they need to sell their home first? While you're agonizing over those decisions, there's competition out there that is sitting there with a check that's ready to go. So making sure that you are both aggressive seeing the property and ready to go. And what I mean by ready to go is know that you're qualified, because if you're not, we will help you get there. We have enough partners to be able to get you there. Don't be scared of bad news. Don't be scared of bad news. If you go for a pre-approval and a lender says, hey, unfortunately, it's, you can't qualify for the $700,000 house. You qualify for $550,000, but hey, if you pay off this credit card or do this or do that, we can get you what you want. You'll get there. We'll get you on the path to getting what you want. Where there's a will, there's a way. But if you don't know, what are you going to do? Like, we can't help you if you don't, help yourself in those circumstances. And we're there to kind of shepherd you through the process and point you in the right direction. But knowing is better than not knowing, for sure. And the other thing, last thing, and I know I'm long-winded, but the last thing is you don't always have to go after the new hot listing that pops up today. Right? We live and work in an area that is largely insulated and sheltered from the national real estate headlines, right? You'll hear, bad headlines, or go online and get bombarded with massive price reductions, market stalled. Well, guess what? In Montgomery County and Bucks County, that's really not happening as much, right? Yeah. When you have reasonable property taxes, you have desirable schools, nice local infrastructure, right? You can commute to Philly, you can commute to Manhattan, you can commute to anywhere in the kind of tri-county area, 5 counties around here. Yeah. These properties are not dropping in value anytime soon. So when you see something that's been on for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, guess what? The paint might be ugly. The carpet might be shag. The walls might be neon green. All of that stuff is easily replaceable and in a short time frame. Would you rather have to go $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, 10% above listing price on the new house that pops up on Saturday? Or do you want to be able to get a negotiation going for a house that's, still fits your needs, that you need to do a little bit of work on? And we are lucky enough that we've been doing this long enough that we have great contacts that can get you in the position to make the home how you want it to be without having to go through the massive, bidding war. Everyone says, I don't want to be involved in a bidding war. Well, if you want to buy a house in a great area at a great price, you're going to be in that bidding war whether you want to be or not. Yeah.
Let's talk about one thing for bidding wars, just because we're seeing a lot of it, right? Like this is a snapshot in time, right? It's mid-February, and in Montgomery and Bucks County, we talked about it this morning. We had a team meeting. It's still very much seller's market, but case by case, right? If you go on the market at the wrong condition or the wrong price, those properties are sitting. That's sort of what we're talking about. You can find value as a buyer. When you have a buyer that's in a multiple bid situation, what's a couple things you like to tell them to try to make their offer stand out? Obviously, all the money in the world is going to trump a lot of things, but what are some tips you like to give those
So
guys?
so a couple of my favorite little tricks of the trade. When you're purchasing a home in the state of Pennsylvania, and you're outside of the city of Philadelphia, I like, again, we talk about money. So a way to tweak an offer is to offer to pay some of the seller's fees, right? As a buyer, you have fees. Sellers have fees too. You can offer to cover some of their transfer tax. That's one of my favorite tools where you don't have to worry about the property appraising for a certain amount. It's literally just, hey, you're buying a $500,000 house. You're paying 1% in transfer tax. That's $5,000. The seller's paying 1% in transfer tax. That's $5,000. Hey, we'll cover half of that for you. So you just threw them $2,500 on the settlement sheet. That's done. That's covered. So I like doing that. Also, it's one of those things where buyer agent commission. We talk about that. There's been circumstances I have earned deals for my clients. The majority of times in our market, we are paid from the listing end. However, you can have your buyer pay your commission or a portion of your commission, and that saves the seller money. I had a couple of deals this past summer that, I had clients cover either a portion of or all of my commission, and that won them the deal in multiple offer circumstances because you're saving the seller money. Plain and simple. Above that, and this is one of my favorite tricks that I learned from you, so I can't take credit for it.
No, take the credit.
If there is significant amount of stuff in a house or heavy things in a house, a pool table, right? An old sound system, a bunch of lawn furniture, whatever it is, you can tell the seller and mark right on, I think it's page 2, you can strike through and say the house, it's usually required to be room clean and free of all personal items. Yeah. You can tell the seller that you can leave all the personal items you'd like. You don't even need to clean the house out. Yep. We'll take care of cleaning it out. So you can leave whatever you'd like. We'll take care of it and take that on. Yep. That is a huge relief to a lot of sellers, especially in estate circumstances where they have a lot of stuff. It's not actually even owned by the seller. It's owned by their parents or whoever they are that actually, was in charge of the property or lived in the property. Hey, you don't want to bring the pool table with you because it costs you a couple grand to move it. Cool. We'll take it. I'll go through the expense of moving it, or I'll take it, so being able to tell the seller that you're a little more flexible on those terms is, I think hugely important. And that's also not a trick that a lot of people use. So being able to provide flexibility and incentive that isn't just, hey, I'll offer you more money. Is a big time advantage to me. And those are probably my favorite tricks.
Yeah. Those are great. Those are great. While we're talking about buyers a little bit, and you touched on it we've great lender partners, Jake and Tony. We'll have them on here at some point to kind of talk through everything.
We let them in.
I just want to kind of double down on that. That is such an important piece for buyers getting started. I like to use a lot of I like to use a lot of analogies, but I like to use a lot of sports analogies. The lender is going to give you the playbook. What are your finances? Hey, do we have the whole menu available? Can we pass on first down? Can we run whenever we want? Can we run all the gadget plays? Great. Hey, are we more limited? Maybe we're just starting out. My wife and I were starting out. We had no money, right? We were getting our ass kicked in 2004 trying to buy a house. And the market was really, really hot and heavy. So, knowing what you have at your disposal kind of clears your mind to let you know, all right, I can do this, or I can do that, or maybe I can do this third or fourth thing. Or, hey, maybe I'm just a buyer. I only have one option, and that's okay too. But now at least we're the minister of propaganda. We know what we're going to war with. I think that's a really, really important point that you touched on.
Having a clear game plan, even if the game plan has some hair on it, we can get you to the finish line regardless of the circumstance. Again, think about the situations that we've had with our lenders, whether the knowledge of the local grant programs. I've gotten people homes in the city of Philadelphia that they have spent less than $1,000 to buy a house to get in the door. And you compare that to, the rental situations, first, last, deposit, security deposit, all that. With some of the loan programs and creative offer situations, we can get people in homes for way less than it would cost to get into rent, as long as you have the knowledge of what's out there, whether it's through your lender partner or through local programs. You can do it. And I don't think a lot of people are aware of what's out there and what's available to them. They just got to go out there and apply and look. And that's where you need people to guide them.
Yeah. When you're a buyer, you're putting together, the whole team. A lot of time the agent is putting together that team for you, and that's sort of what we're bringing to the table with experience and a lot
The
of
out of shape Avengers. That's us.
Yeah. A lot of the stuff that we've gone through, and on the sell side too, but on the buy side, there's really a lot of pieces to the puzzle. So we talked a lot about buyers. Let's talk sellers. What's a couple things you'd say to sellers who are getting ready to list their house now? We just went through this with a few people. What are some things you like to tell sellers when they're getting their house ready to go on the market?
Sure. My favorite line in real estate that I say to pretty much every seller is, if you cut out all the fat and you just boil down to what this is. There are two things that are within your control, and it is cost and it is condition. So everyone wants to sell your house for the most money possible. We want to sell your house for the most money possible. Like, we have a vested interest, both so you are in the best, circumstance possible and you have the best possible outcome. And also we're incentivized to sell it for the most money possible. So when we sit down and you go, I want to sell my house for $1 million, great. I'd love to sell it for $20 million. But again, we need the numbers to justify that, but you can price it wherever you'd like. The market will tell you where you are, right? And if the cost lines up with the condition, the cost justifies the condition, or the condition justifies the cost, you're going to be fine, right? So you either need to lower the cost to justify that your house isn't in great shape, right? But if you want that certain number, improve the condition to justify the cost, right? You can't have a fixed mindset with it. And I know that's kind of new age corporate bro talk, but you really need to be
break out the quarter zips.
Yeah. Again, I have a Patagonia on right now. I think I certainly fit the corporate bro situation right now. That's fine. But yeah, like the reality is, like, you can want whatever you want. As long as that number is within reason, we can figure out a way to, at minimum, get you close. Right. Yep. And that is through, pre-listing work. It can be as simple as, hey, you know what? Your front door handle is hanging off.
Yep.
We should have my handyman go over, get you new front door hardware, or your screen door, when you open it, flaps in the wind. Yep. So your first impression when someone walks up and you're asking for a high number, their first impression is the front door's broken. Probably not the way you want it to set, right? You walk in and the place smells like pet. We're not going to tell you can't have dogs or cats to sell a house, but we should probably make sure that the house doesn't smell like pet when you step in. But I'll tell you, these are kind of the things that I do on every single listing. You provide options for the seller. Hey, do we want to do anything, or do we want to sell the house exactly as it is? I'll go through, I'll point out, hey, you know what? There's a hole in the wall here from you got really mad when you watched the Eagles lose their playoff game. We should probably have a drywall patch on that. Hey, I love that you love this color, but I will tell you that burnt orange isn't the best color for a living room. Perhaps we want to paint that an off-white.
Yep.
And again, you spend $5, $6, $7, $1,000, and in many circumstances, you're spending $1,000 to make triple that, quadruple, way more than that, if it's presented correctly. Having flexibility for showings is another big thing. Hey, like, we have a rhythm on how we want to list, right? I want to list you and build our audience leading into a weekend, right? Yep. So if you have the ability to, hey, I'm going over my parents' house to hang out there Friday, Saturday, we'll hang there during the day. We'll come home 5, 6 o'clock at night to, do our normal thing. Do it. You don't want to turn people down when they want to see your house, because if you cancel their request, there's no guarantee they're going to go back to request it again. And if you're buying, you know how frustrating that could be. Hey, John, I really want to see this house tomorrow at noon. You request it and they slam the door in your face and go, no, we're not letting you in. All right, well, what the hell are you going to do? So it puts you in a circumstance where you want to enable the property to be seen by the most people possible. You want it to be in the most marketable condition possible, and get yourself in the situation that you don't want to cost yourself money by being inflexible. So being agile and really kind of putting yourself in the shoes of a prospective buyer can be hugely important. And listen, selling your house is a pain in the ass. Yep. And simple. So if you can, even with the best service, selling your house can be stressful. You get bad feedback. You really carefully designed your son's room. I remember when we sold our first home in Bensalem, my wife and I meticulously designed our son's room. And at the time we were selling, he was 4. So we had his name on the wall. We have all these knickknacks on the wall. We have it designed perfectly. and we had a Nest camera in the room for him as a baby monitor. And my wife popped in and she heard like some couple being like, ugh, I didn't like this. And she was like, I'll kill them. I'll kill them. Like, and it's one of those things like, and we do this professionally. So
like John Chaney talking to John Calipari.
So it's really tough to hear feedback like, hey, thanks for the showing. Your house smelled like dog and we didn't like the flooring. And you go, screw you. I love my cherry flooring and my dog's a sweetheart. So you have to be flexible and you have to kind of, be ready to take these hits to get you where you need to go at the end.
Yeah. I think that's all. I think that's all great. And I know, we talk about a lot on the team, and you do this great. You're comfortable in people's houses, but you give them that optionality, give them the flexibility. You said agile, be available for showings. Like all those things are really, really, really important. Really, It's nothing more frustrating you want to make it easy for a buyer to put an offer in on your house as a seller. There's nothing more frustrating when we're working on the other side with buyers and we can't get into a house. It's only available for a couple hours here or there. It's the more restrictions you put on it. You're uncomfortable, and if you're doing it right, you're only uncomfortable for a short period of time as a seller.
Exactly. If you can deal with being out of your house a little bit on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you end up with a situation that you didn't even think you'd be in on Monday, and that's for the positive. Answer your phone, answer your texts. Respond to the agents that are interested, respond to the leads that are interested. It is amazing that, in a job that in many circumstances are people's best financial, or not best, biggest financial decision, that you can't get people on the phone sometimes. And again, sometimes the simplest act, be professional, respond to emails and phone calls and text in regards to your client's property, can differentiate you from a lot of what's out there, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts. Yeah. You would think a lot of people on the outside think that's the minimum, and it is for our team. But I can't control it. We can't control
barrier for entry needs to be higher, Bob.
Barrier for entry. That's a separate episode.
We'll do a whole hour on that.
I'll lose every friend I've ever had, and start talking about that. All good tips for sellers. What do you think? And maybe you kind of touched on it a little bit. Maybe it's one of the things you mentioned. What do you think is a thing that you see, whether it's one of our own clients or when we're out showing properties for buyers? What do you think is like a thing that a lot of sellers overlook when they're putting their house on the market?
I would tell you that, again, first impression, as I kind of mentioned, is a big thing. But I think sellers really overlook, to me, the amount of personalization and stuff that they have in their house. So people, by and large, in my experience, lack imagination. Yeah. So when they step into your home and there's, as beautiful as your family is, and I'm sure they're all wonderful, when you have 65 photos of your family in the living room, you feel like you're in someone else's house. And a big part of showing the home is people need to be able to project themselves into the house. So that, I think, matters a lot. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you, little things like door hardware, ceiling fans, the little thing that you knew. I mentioned like holes in your interior doors, or a handle that's falling. The things that you've been thinking about fixing for 5 years, right? That's when people will notice. When you walk in and you see that, wow, this is a beautiful kitchen. The handle's missing on those 2 cabinets, right? You have them. They're sitting in your drawer. You just haven't put them up, right? No. Those little things add up. And when you're hunting a big number, those little things can turn people off. To me, like, again, my favorite, success stories with sellers are, if and a lot of times that, in a circumstance, if people don't have the financial ability, it's something that I'll do for them. And hey, listen, when we sell it, we'll get reimbursed. Let's get someone in here, spend 3-4 hours to handle these little things, right? Yep. You don't have to worry about it. You don't even need to pay for it now. Let me handle it. I'm going to get my guy in here to take care of it for you. After that, I'll get my house cleaner in here for you tomorrow. Yep. And we're ready for showings. You don't need to pay for it now. So I'm $500, $1,000 in. And I'll tell you, when we sell your house, you're going to be happy, and I'll get reimbursed on the settlement sheet. But I promise you, these little things will make a positive difference and make you money at the end of the day. So the cleanliness of the house matters. You can be clean, but I'll tell you, a house cleaner, qualified house cleaner will do it better than you. And those little dinky projects that you don't think matter because listen, everyone loves this neighbor. They love this block. They love this. They love that. And I'm sure everything's great.
Yeah.
When they come into your house and they see those little things, it can turn people off. So you don't want a $20 piece of hardware to make someone not want to put an offer on your $600,000 house.
Amen. Amen, brother. Amen. Amen. All right, good. We get a lot of good tips there for sellers, a lot of good ones for buyers. What's one thing, like, as an agent that either you would say to someone who's starting new today, like you've been licensed for 10 years now, you've had a lot of success, you've had a lot of challenges. What's a piece of advice either you wish you had when you were newer, or something that you'd like to tell new team members when they join our team? What's something that you like to give to agents when they're just starting out?
Talk to everyone that you know. Make sure that everyone that you know knows that you're a realtor the best you can. And sometimes I struggle with it a little bit just because you don't want to be, cringe to them, but like kind of look past it. Make sure that everyone you know knows that you're an agent, right?
Yeah.
You never know where business is going to come from. You really don't. You could, meet someone tomorrow that, you're at your kid's concert for school and you're there and you're sitting next to a guy and your kid is friends with their kid and you just introduced yourself and you don't know, 6 months from now, that guy could have an investment portfolio that he's thinking of getting rid of. And you just, made thousands and thousands of dollars based off a handshake. A couple years ago, we were at a birthday party for a neighbor, good friends of my son. And I sat next to a guy at a birthday party and exchanged business cards. And I ended up selling him a $2 million property in Holland and selling his property in Langhorne. And it never would have happened if I didn't go to a kid's birthday party and talk to him about real estate. And that is thousands of dollars in income based off just being communicative. The other thing is you never know what agent you're going to deal with on the other end. So there are times, we'll speak freely here. We're in the trust tree with here.
Nobody's watching.
We're in the tree. There will be circumstances where you will want to strangle an agent on the other end of a transaction.
Never. I never heard of it.
Personally, whether it's for your clients, you will see a name on a listing and you will say to yourself, I can't believe that this clown is the listing agent on this deal.
Yep.
And what you need to do is compartmentalize and be professional and stay even keeled as possible, because you don't know when you're going to need an agent's help to get a transaction landed.
Yep.
And that's something, I'm a pretty emotional guy and I have a very difficult time kind of hiding when I'm upset. So there are certainly some deals early in my career that I blew up and said some things that I probably wish I didn't say to agents.
Some people have it.
Yeah, which I'm very happy were not recorded on YouTube like this would be. And I think that that's a big change for me, and something I would recommend to any agent is even if you don't click with this agent, you don't think that this agent's doing a great job, or whatever reason that you're just not clicking with this agent, you don't know when you're going to need them, right? You don't know when a good circumstance. I can't tell you how many deals, and you know it, obviously. Yeah. I can't tell you how many deals I've gotten over the last 5-6 years because I did a smooth deal with someone previously. Yep. Or even more so when you got through a not smooth deal with an agent.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's agents in my area here that when I see them on a listing, I'll call and we just laugh the moment, are you going to send me another one that we're going to have to drag the corpse across the finish line? Yeah. And you laugh about it because you both operated in a professional manner, did everything you could to get it there, and ended successfully. So harbor these relationships with agents. You don't need to be best friends with everyone, but you don't want a large list of enemies in this business, because you don't know, either when you're going to need them or when they're going to need you or when you guys need to work together. Because at the end of the day, listen, I can tell people that I'm the top producer on the Bob Kelley team who's not named Bob and all this stuff, and I can do all this. None of that matters to you if I don't do a good job for you.
That's right.
Listen how much business I sold last year. Do you know that me and my wife sold $15 million of real estate last year? Guess what? If I do a crappy job on your $200,000 row home, You could give I was going to stop. You could give a crap about how wonderful my resume is and how great of a job I did for Susie. Awesome job for Susie. If I didn't do a good job for you, none of that matters. And that time that I need it might be an agent that I actively hate, but you got to keep your mouth shut, do everything you can to get where you need to go. And because at the end of the day, we don't matter. We're not living in that house. We need to get you there. And then we'll talk crap in the group chat.
Yeah, in the group chat or I think the other thing that's good, and we've talked about this a lot before, obviously, but listen, my Irish DNA, I can be a hothead at times, and especially younger version of myself early in my career, I definitely, lost on a few agents, and, there's a lot that goes into it, right? Sometimes agents are making the transaction harder and for whatever reason, maybe they don't know that, look, there's a lot of us. Some of us are not good. Some of us are really good. And what was helpful for me was I had a rough interaction with an agent who actually is a great agent. She was just having a bad day and she had a pain in the ass client. Sometimes clients are tough. And she kind of took it out on me. I gave it back to her and I started to talk to people in my office. Everyone loved this lady. And this is when I was just solo agent, maybe 3 years in.
Maybe you're the problem.
Yeah. And when we talked and I called her and I said, oh, well, so-and-so told me to say hello. Oh, you work with them? Oh, they're great. And then we kind of mended the fences. I've done, plenty of deals with her over the years since then. And I think a lot of times thinking like, put yourself in the other person's shoes, right? Sometimes maybe the other client's great, but they're just going through some stuff. Maybe it's a tough situation, a divorce, a death, something like that, right? Where there's another emotional burden. But also as an agent, you have to think bigger than yourself, right? You should care about yourself and your own reputation. If you're on a team, you obviously should care about that. Your company that you work for, your office, like all of those things help because listen, there's a lot of us, but it's a tight community. And we all kind of know who the agents are, a pain in the ass to do a deal with. And we all know the people who are great to do a deal with. And I think that helps you get a lot of wins along the way.
Yeah, 100%.
I think you hit the head on that.
Yeah. And listen, the benefit of being on the team, one of the big time benefits of being on the team is there's been circumstances where I may not have had an interaction with an agent, but because I'm on this team, I can make the phone call and be like, oh, you work on the Bob Kelley team. Bob's great. Or whatever it is. Oh, I worked with Anthony. I worked with Tony. I worked with Liz, whatever it is. And then it's one of those things where even though they don't know me from Adam, the fact that our team had a great transaction with them opens the door for you. So that's, dozens of times over the last years, that's been a thing.
Yeah. Iris, it's really helped us as we've grown. And that's not because of me. I'll take this much credit for it. It's really because of all of us, right? Like Iris opens up every conversation with a co-op agent. Do you know this person? Do you know this person? Do you know Bob? Do you know John? Like she kind of starts it with that because it's the best thing for a client. If she can build some common ground with that person and we've had a good interaction or she's had a good interaction with our team. We have great systems. Once we're under contract, things generally go pretty smoothly over here. So it's really helpful. It's really helpful. You talk a little bit about the team. I know we're going to wrap up pretty soon. You started. You've only ever been on a team. We don't want you going anywhere, by the way. Talk a little bit about like how that was helpful for you starting, and then even now as your career has advanced. Some of the things about being on a team versus what you observe from kind of like solo agents trying to figure it all out on their own.
Sure. So I can only really speak to this team. So that's one thing that I kind of have to preface it. So being here, you make it really easy because my job is to sell houses. And that is key for me. Right. So buying and selling houses with my clients makes my life easy. You mentioned way earlier in our conversation about, I was just away. We were just on vacation and I had my clients taken care of. You helped me. I had other agents help me with showings when people wanted to go out. So knowing that I can live my life while still running my own business with support of trusted agents who I not only, trust, but I also like, right? It's not one of those things where it's like, oh, I'm handing in, but you know what? Like, I don't really like the way he does. Everyone on our team is very, very good at their jobs. And that's not, you wouldn't have them if they weren't. Yeah. We do enough business that we don't need to, we don't have a help wanted sign on the door. Right.
Yeah, that's right.
So for me, being able to be able to disconnect sometimes, again, when I'm not actively selling real estate, I am on some type of sports field somewhere, right? And knowing that if I am at a baseball tournament in Albany, New York, or I'm at a hockey tournament in Springfield, Virginia, and my client needs to see a house in Bluebell, Pennsylvania, they will be taken care of. Or if I have a listing going up that's getting sold, they will be taken care of. And my clients do not suffer any type of service, gap, or any type of miscommunication or lack of communication due to me needing to live my life as an adult and as a husband and as a father and all that stuff. Early in my career, being able to do the same thing, where if I had another obligation, whether it's work or whether it's family, knowing that I had that flexibility was there. And above that, like I sell a lot of houses and I do a lot of business. I've been doing it for a long time, but being able to communicate with you or other agents on the team about how to tackle certain circumstances and what's the best way to approach this, either with a client or with another agent, to me is invaluable. Like, I'm not going anywhere, but I do enough business to be a more than successful agent on my own.
Yep.
But I don't want to have conversations with people that aren't kind of vested in my success. If I'm having a conversation with you about, hey, I got Joe Smith over here, we're trying to, to accomplish this for him. What do you think's the best way to handle this circumstance? You'll hop on a call with me and we will figure out a solution to get there. Or my favorite type is, I did this, and then I go to you and say, hey, I did this. What do you think? And we're able to kind of talk it through. To me, having that kind of, built in both accountability and built in kind of partnership to it. Like I want to make all the money. I want to sell all the houses, make all the money. And I want you to do the same thing. And I want our team to be as successful as possible. And knowing that we're all vested and going in the same direction and all want the same thing, to me is invaluable.
Yeah. There's a camaraderie and a partnership and a friendship beyond all this.
I still want to sell more houses than you. Just letting you know.
Please, I want you to.
But yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, but like we're all aligned, and I'll say as a team leader, that's my favorite thing day to day about running a team. I also feel like it's probably one of the better skills that I have. I give myself a little bit of credit because one, I've done a lot of business on my own before I started the team. Right, I didn't just like get my license to start a team, and then two,
you didn't build as
we've grown. We have animals on this team. We have a lot of people who produce a lot of business and all types of business, investment portfolios, all the family stuff, move up, move down. Mom, I got to take care of mom. Somebody died, estates, stuff down the shore now. We're in 2 states. And I feel like that blood on the sword over and over again for all of us as we're going out there is sort of invaluable. And I say that all the time, especially when, for me, it's interesting to sit here because I can see like sort of when the light bulb kicks on for agents as they get going. And a lot of times they're like, oh, I don't want to bother you. No. You should bother the shit out of me. Like you are perennially one of the top producers on the team. We talk all of the time. And it is, just let's fine tune it. Hey, can we get, 1,000 more bucks for the client here? That kind of stuff, the sort of the game of real estate and negotiating. That's the fun stuff to me. Like that's,
there's nothing better than being able to talk. Hey, let's try this word track. See how this works. And then it works and your client ends up with a big win. And you're like, hey, like that came from us brainstorming a solution to be able to get this done. That's again, as you said it, that's the real fun stuff. And you need, there's enough parts of this job where you can get punched in the face and be done. So the win, when you get those wins, being able to kind of share that and not just kind of, fist pump yourself in your car, being able to be like, yo, we did this. My Philly accent really popped through there. That was great.
Yeah, it sure did.
Being able to share that success with you as a team leader and kind of the team to get us there is a good thing. And I'm also lucky enough to work with my wife on the team where we can kind of share those wins and kind of get that done. So it's a big time positive.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll close it out here in a minute. Let's talk a little bit about personal stuff. You mentioned Liz. Liz is another great agent on our team. Most importantly, your wife, mother to Alex. I mean, let's talk about some personal stuff. You guys are in the throes of it with youth sports. You're coaching. You're you're in it. You're in the thick of it. Let people know a little bit about you personally. What are some things you're into as a family, even though I touched on them? And then what are some things you kind of like to do outside of real estate?
Sure. Again, when I'm not actively working, I am on some type of sports field. I am active at Langhorne Athletic Association as a title sponsor for them for their baseball program. My wife and I have been volunteers and sponsors for Langhorne and Chamonix United, the soccer organization over there. I am a head coach right now for the local ice hockey team out of Bristol that's going to be transferring to Northeast Philly, merging our programs there. My son is 9 years old, and he is very active. And my biggest fear in life was having a weirdo, non-athletic kid. So I'm lucky enough to have a weirdo athletic kid, which is great. But no, it's for us. We try to be as active in the community as we can, and put, kind of our time. Again, my wife ran the snack stand for the soccer team for years. She would wake up 7 a.m., get over there and run it for 4 hours on Saturday, get back, run appointments, run showings, and then manage to make it to our son's games. And I volunteered countless hours as coach and volunteers and helping. And it's a blast. And one of my biggest things, and this is important to me, even just outside of my own business. I like to have connections in business with people that I know are invested in the same community aspects as I am. So that's really important for us. We're in it. My son's going to be going to middle school next year, and we're deeply invested here in Langhorne and Middletown Township, and we're here. I'd love to travel more than I could. We can right now work wise and not have my kid be a truant from school. So that's kind of where we are right now. We're trying to get into some hiking and some national park trips in when we can, but I don't know. Classic Northeast Philly dream, man. Northeast Philly, move to Bucks County, trying to get a house in Wildwood, Wildwood. That's it. We're
go Birds.
It's a stereotype for a reason, I guess. The background, I don't know. My Twitter bio says I have an unhealthy obsession with Philadelphia sports, and I don't know where anyone would possibly get the idea of that.
Right.
So God knows. That's kind of where we are. But yeah, man, we're in it. I'm lucky enough to have a son that is my best friend, and a wife that is the same, and she tolerates me, and it's all good. Things are great.
We'll give her, all the spouses deserve a raise. All the spouses of
that's the most difficult job ever. And she saw it enough to be able to get out her Jake to get here. So it's all good. Yeah, things are great.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we'll wrap up, dude. Listen, you know how I feel about you. I love you, brother. Like you're great. You're important to the team. You do a great amount of business, and it's awesome just sharing a little bit of time here. We'll wrap up. We'll put all of John's contact info in the show notes or description below. So if you're looking to buy or sell a house, reach out to him. You need any good travel destinations, food recommendations in the city.
Harris, man. Plymouth Harris. That's it. That's what it is. Nicest beach ever. Go there.
There you go. He'll get you there. But thanks so much, man.
No problem, man. Thanks.
Bye. Thanks for checking out Know Your People. If you enjoyed this episode, do us a favor. Follow or subscribe on your favorite platform. Leave a quick rating and tell a friend to check us out. You can find us on social media at Bob Kelley Team across all platforms. And if you want to connect with our team or today's guest, the info is in the description below. Go show some love.